New Year's Eve was supposed to feel loud fireworks, distant music shouting voices, something that reminded you the world was alive and moving forward. Instead, my house felt frozen in time. I had already spent Christmas with family and didn't feel like forcing plans just for the sake of tradition. So I stayed in a couple of beers, old movies, and the Times Square countdown glowing on my TV. When midnight passed, I didn't feel excited or sad. Just empty by 2 in the morning. I wasn't tired at all. Sitting on the couch all day made my body restless. Like it needed motion just to feel real again. I looked out the window. Snow is falling lightly, barely enough to cover the sidewalks. The neighborhood looked calm, almost beautiful cold. Dark and quiet, a walk sounded perfect. I put on my jacket, gloves, and hat and stepped outside. Immediately, something felt off. The silence wasn't normal. No music, no distant laughter. No cars passing through every house had its Christmas lights on, glowing softly but nothing else. It felt staged like a movie set. After everyone went home, I wandered without direction, turning randomly, losing track of time. I wasn't fully sober, so minutes blended together. Eventually, I reached the park. The path hadn't been shoveled, but the snow looked thin enough to manage. I stepped onto it, welcoming the change of scenery. That's when it started getting harder to walk. The snow deepened, grabbing in my boots, and then I noticed the lights were gone. The small lamps that usually line the path were completely off. Darkness swallowed everything beyond a few feet in front of me. After a few uneasy minutes, I turned back. That's when I saw the footprints. Another set of tracks ran alongside mine. Fresh and close, someone had been walking directly behind me. I hadn't heard anything when I followed the prints with my eyes. They didn't turn back toward the entrance. They veered off the path straight into the pitch-black trees. My chest tight, I woke up on the hallway floor, with my head pounding like it was splitting open. My vision blurred in and out, and nausea rolled through my stomach. I didn't know how long I'd been unconscious, but it couldn't have been much more than 10 minutes. Something had happened, something violent. I called 911 with shaking hands. Whoever broke in was gone. The police searched the house, but nothing was missing, no forced entry. No clues. The worst part wasn't the injury. It was the gap in my memory, a clean, empty hole where something important should have been. I knew I had seen the person. I could feel it. My mind just refused to let me remember. Life moved on, but the fear stayed. A few months later, I was working overnight at a small ski resort in a mountain town. My job was maintenance, but I was also loosely trained as security. After a few break-ins, the resort had no cameras. Just 2 overnight workers, me and a guy named Matthew. Matthew worked the opposite side of the building. We rarely saw each other. Most nights felt like I was alone. That night started normally. I was cleaning the main floor when I heard tapping, soft but deliberate. I checked the windows and saw footprints in the snow. Directly beneath one of them, they circled the building before disappearing into the plowed parking lot. I stepped outside briefly but couldn't track where they went. The cold drove me back in. About 30 minutes later, I heard doors open in the connecting hallway. Matthew appeared looking pale and confused. He asked what I was doing, as if the answer mattered more than it should have. When I mentioned the footprints, his expression tightened. He said it wasn't him and left without explanation. An hour passed in uneasy silence. Then a loud bang echoed through the corridor. I want to check on Matthew. His section was empty. The back door stood wide open, snow blowing inside. Fresh footprints, LED away from the building toward the ski lifts. Matthew's name vanished into the wind. You police arrived too late. Matthew was officially declared missing within hours. No signs of struggle, no answers. For a while, I was a suspect. Eventually, they cleared me. The footprints disappeared into the woods, like Matthew himself had never existed. Years later, during another winter, I was driving back from Montana after visiting my parents. A massive storm rolled in fast. Snow swallowed the highway and my phone lost all service. I pulled into a rest stop just as visibility dropped to nothing. Only one other car sat in the lot buried under snow. It looked abandoned after an hour of waiting. I went inside the rest stop to warm up. The building was empty and silent. When I tried to enter the men's restroom, the door wouldn't open. Someone was holding it shut from the inside. I backed away, heart racing, and left immediately as I exited. I heard the door swing open behind me. I didn't look back, sitting in my car, unsure if I could even leave. I noticed a shape emerging from the blizzard. A man stood there motionless, talking on the phone, then he started pacing closer, slowly, deliberately. When he finally reached my window, he smiled wide and unnatural and knocked hard. Another man appeared behind him, running from the building. My tire spun uselessly in the snow as panic took over. And that's when I realized something chilling. Every winter, every storm, every quiet place, someone was always watching. For a long time after the rest stop incident, I tried convincing myself that these were isolated events. Different places, different years, different people. That logic was the only thing keeping me functional. But fear has a way of returning when you least expect it. And it always brings questions with it. What bothered me wasn't just what happened. It was how similar everything felt. The silence before something went wrong. The snow, the feeling of being watched long before I actually saw anyone. Each time I had ignored that instinct. The quiet warning deep in my chest telling me something wasn't right. I started replaying every detail in my head, especially the night in my house. I remembered the footprints in the park and how they followed mine perfectly. Like whoever made them knew exactly where I would step. I remember the lights upstairs being off when I knew I left them on. That wasn't coincidence. Someone had been inside my home, moving calmly, deliberately while I was gone. The police said nothing ever turned up. No neighbor saw anything, no fingerprints, no witnesses. The case faded into paperwork, but the memory loss stayed with me. I began wondering if that blackout was my mind protecting me, or hiding something worse. I couldn't shake the idea that the man at the rest stop, and whoever attacked me might have shared the same patience, the same confidence. Blocking the bathroom door before I even touched it meant he knew I was there. Smiling through the glass meant he wasn't afraid of me at all. And Matthew, I searched his name online more times than I'd like to admit. No updates, no clouche. He simply vanished. Sometimes I wondered if he had followed footprints just like I did, trusting that whoever was out there was someone he knew, someone who had already been watching him for a long time. After those experiences, winter became something I dreaded. Snow no longer felt peaceful. Silence felt loud. Empty places made my skin crawl. I stopped going out. It's been years now, and nothing like that has happened again. At least nothing that left physical proof. But I don't believe for a second that means it's over. People like that don't just stop. They adapt, they move on to quieter places, to easier targets. Sometimes I think about how close I came to disappearing. How easily my story could have ended in the woods behind the resort, or frozen in that rest stop parking lot. If I had followed the footprints just a little farther, if I had opened that bathroom door one more time, if my tires hadn't caught enough traction to pull me away. I think about Matthew the most. About how no one remembers him except as a missing person report and a few fading memories from coworkers. About how someone out there knows exactly what happened to him and walks freely through the world unnoticed. There's a specific kind of fear that stays with you after surviving something you don't fully understand. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It reminds you that danger doesn't always rush at you. Sometimes it waits for you to be tired, alone, or just a little careless. I still work security jobs occasionally. I still drive long distances. I still live alone, but I've learned to listen to silence, to respect it when a place feels wrong. I leave when something doesn't make sense. I don't force logic onto it anymore. Every winter when the snow starts falling and the world grows quiet, I remember the footsteps beside mine that shouldn't have been there. I remember the door in my house standing open. I remember the man smiling through the glass, as if he already knew how the night would end. And I wonder how many times I've crossed paths with someone like that since then without realizing it. Someone standing just out of sight. Someone watching, waiting for the right moment. Because the scariest truth I've learned is this: not every monster hides in the dark. Some of them walk among us, patiently following footprints in the snow, knowing that even two